My wife just admitted to having an affair with a coworker for the last 6 months, which, according to her, just went from emotional to physical, and I don't think we can come back from this. I'm 34M, losing my mind right now. My whole life, everything I had planned for future seems like a sad joke. My wife, Annie, 30F, asked for some time to talk. We have 2 little girls, 3 and 5, and she arranged a sleepover for them with her sister. This seemed off to me since she is vehemently against sleepovers and has never agreed to one before. She sat me down and admitted to having an emotional affair with a coworker for about half a year, which has now become physical. She wasn't crying when she told me, but that's not abnormal for her. She is a very sensitive person but has a hard time showing them. She works as a corporate auditor for a large company and is very skilled at networking, so I never thought anything of the numerous texts and calls she would get even during her off hours. To say I was stunned was an understatement. I felt sick and disgusted by her continuing to lie to me and the fact that she was so good at hiding it as well. I asked her how it started, and he was a new hire to the job and they were similar in age and both married, so she felt safe hanging out with him. Annie is not one to discuss her personal life with anyone who isn't a close friend or family, so she said most of their conversations in the beginning would be about the job or shared interests. She said her and Mark, the other guy, became really good friends over their shared love of sports, specifically tennis. Now I knew she would go every Saturday to the local tennis club to play, but she never told me it was with Mark. She'd always say it was just some people from work and I wouldn't question it. She wouldn't talk about work a lot with me, but I knew the people she was close with, and Mark's name never came up even when he first started. I had met him at her office Christmas party, but he had said hi to us and kind of stayed away, and I assumed they weren't close. I asked to tell me everything, every lie she had ever said regarding Mark, and it's a fudging list. A couple of months ago her company arranged a team getaway from other branches and she told me they weren't allowed to bring partners. That was a lie. I asked her if it's because she wanted to spend time with Mark, and she just shrugged her shoulders and said I don't know. Her and her work friends go to the pub every Friday after work, and I asked about joining them sometimes and she said it would be awkward since no other significant others come. That was also a lie. Her and Mark went on pseudo double dates with her work friends and she always told them I was too busy if they ever invited me. A lot of her lies involved keeping me from seeing her and Mark interact. She said she didn't even know why she was doing it in the beginning, but just wanted to keep us separated. At this point I felt my heart break. It was a physical pain in my chest. This person who I thought was the most beautiful and kind person in the world, who I thought was special enough to be the mother of my children, had betrayed me. I didn't be close to her, I didn't want to see her, but I knew I needed to get the whole story. I asked her how it became physical and she said last Friday after the pub she had gotten a little tipsy and went to the smoking area with Matt. She had quit, but obviously being around this dickhead made her start again. She said they were talking about Matt's marriage and how he had said he wasn't happy, and she said she hugged him and he obviously got the wrong idea and kissed her. I asked her if she kissed him back and she said she didn't push him away the way she should have, whatever the f that means. She said she left after that and immediately came home. I do remember how quiet she was last Friday. I assumed it was end of week stress and let her have some time to herself and put the girls to bed myself. She said she was telling me now because she realized she had started an emotional affair with Matt and knew the only way not to lose me was to come clean. She said she knew what she had done was wrong and that in the beginning she just liked that an attractive man was giving her attention and used it as a confidence booster. I couldn't fucking listen to her about this. I know, especially after our second daughter was born, my job kept me busier than usual. Our plan was to work hard now so we could retire early, and she had championed me doing this. I wasn't a perfect husband or father, but I tried hard to give them a good life. I wanted to scream and yell at her, but that's never been my personality, so all I could do was numb myself to all the hurt while I tried to figure out how this could have happened. The night ended with me sleeping on the sofa, embarrassingly crying myself to sleep. I wanted to ask Annie if she loved Matt, but was fucking terrified of her answer. What if she said yes and that she wanted to leave me? How could I not see my girls every day? How could I tolerate the love of my life being with someone else? I kept thinking of everything I could have done to prevent this. Annie and I have always been hyper-independent people, but maybe she needed more from me. Maybe she was asking for attention in her own way and I never listened. Still, it doesn't excuse the sneaking around and lying. I thought we were just going through a temporary rough patch, and when I tried to bring up going on date nights or trips to rekindle our relationship, she would always shoot it down by making some excuse with the kids. In this last year our sex life has reduced. After our second daughter she had gotten a lot stretch marks and I knew she struggled with her body, so I didn't want to push her. After a night of barely sleeping I needed more answers from her. Telling me wasn't enough. I didn't clear steps from her on how she was going to fix our relationship. Even if she wanted to fix our relationship. We went out for breakfast and I asked her the question I was dreading all night, if she loved Matt. She immediately said no and that she had just got caught up in receiving attention from the wrong place. She said she couldn't imagine losing our family and that she didn't expect me to forgive her, but that she needed to tell me about the kiss. I told her I don't know if I could trust her anymore after all the lying and how she had taken my perfect image of her as a wife and mother and thrown it away. She started crying and saying that she would do anything to fix it, and if I asked her to quit her job she would. She showed me her phone and that she had deleted and blocked his number and would now only communicate through a monitored company communication app. I know she feels guilty for what she's done, but I keep getting caught up on how easily I trusted her when she would walk out the door spewing her lies. How could I trust her again? How do I know the next time we go through something she won't crave that attention again? I asked her for some space and have moved into the guest room while we figure out what to do next. She keeps talking about couple therapy and how she would absolutely hate herself if her actions caused our daughters to lose their parents. She grew up in a broken home with a barely there dad and doesn't want the same for our children. I told her I would never abandon my kids even if we split up, and didn't appreciate the insinuation that I wouldn't. I talked to my older brothers about this and they said I should try for my daughter's sake but also make her quit her job as well. That feels off to me. I know how long she worked there to be promoted into her position and I don't want to take that away from her, but at the same time I can't tolerate that boss being around her. I have to keep on stopping myself from pummeling his face in. Since we've been sleeping separately, she has been sending me good morning letters that she makes my 5-year-old bring to me. It feels nice, but the feeling is tainted since I know she only making an effort since she feels guilty. My daughter enjoys being a carrier pigeon and knocks on my door with a hoot hoot, so my mornings haven't been that bad. We've been cordial with each other and focus on making sure our daughters don't have any disruption. She made a cup of coffee the other day and told me she loved me when she handed it over, but I couldn't bring myself to say it back. I haven't kissed or touched her in a week and I can't bring myself to do it. I just keep picturing her with him and how many boundaries she let us cross with her. I can't look at her for too long. I'll melt and cave but never trust her, and it's not fair for either of us. I'm not sure on what to do next. I can't imagine her not being my wife, but how can we stay together when I find it hard to be around her right now? Commenter 1. Lying for a year? Immediate no for me. BC, it tells me the lengths she had to go to keep up those lies. The problem with trust is once someone breaks it, pretty damn hard to get it back. Not sure I would trust anyone that lied to me for this long. Commenter 2. I love how it's not a physical affair. It's an emotional affair that became physical. I'm sorry dude, that is an insane way to word that. Commenter 3. That whole sending the 5-year-old to love bomb, you made me seriously sick. Update 1. Thank you everyone for the advice and messages. Some of you guys are actual heroes for making me put my head on straight. Also about the Mark/Matt confusion, blame autocorrect, I don't know what the fudge happened. They're fake names anyway. Anyway, here's the long-awaited update that I've been getting messages about. I always thought if I ever got cheated on I would be the type to demand explanations and timelines immediately, but I was surprised by how much I didn't want to know. We stayed in limbo longer than we should have, basically where we were both kind of waiting to get a chance to talk about it more. My wife worked from home the whole week and then decided to take her annual leave she had saved up. I did not ask her to do this, but she said she felt uncomfortable going to work and knew it would affect me more if she did. I told her not to do it for me, but she insisted. I made sure to spend time with a couple of friends and my brothers. While I didn't confide in all of them about what was going on, it felt good to spend some time not obsessing over what my wife had done. My kids didn't really notice anything different apart from my eldest asking why Mama and Papa weren't in the same room anymore when she got up to come to us in the middle of the night. I explained to her that I wanted to be closer to her at night since the guest bedroom was closer to her room, and she even stayed and slept with me in the guest room a couple of times. Both Annie and I have tried hard to keep them away from our problems. Anyway, a couple days after my post we finally put the girls to bed and I felt ready to talk to her about it. We sat on the dining room table and I asked her to hand over her phone so I could read the messages. They mostly communicated on WhatsApp and it wasn't hard for me to retrieve the chat since she backed up her messages pretty consistently. I know quite a few of you told me it wouldn't do me much good and would hurt more, but I needed to know. I couldn't stay with her if I didn't. She handed over her phone without protest but kept saying she could tell me what was in the messages instead. I don't think she knew I knew how to restore them. I asked her to sit with me while I read them in case I needed context. There was a ton to scroll through, but I read through them all, especially around the time of the work trip. It was difficult and it was a knife in gut to see her texting another man about her feelings and thoughts that she should have been sharing with me. There were very suggestive things he said that she let him get away with or entertained. He had a favorite top of hers that he made sure to compliment every time she wore, and I asked her if she wore it more regularly for him and she said the thought did cross her mind when she got dressed in the morning. There were long texts from him about how beautiful she was and how he wished he had met her when they were both younger. She never shut him down. She almost reciprocated the feeling without fully committing. Apparently she and Mark had gone dancing with some coworkers and he was telling her how sexy she looked that night, and she had told him how I didn't say things like that to her anymore. It seemed like they would go a couple of weeks just surface texting and then all of a sudden I would see a thread from the middle of the night where either one of them was venting about their feelings. Annie would complain about how exhausted she was from being a mother and wife and how she needed a break from everything. If we ever got into a fight she would tell him how she wasn't sure if I loved her anymore and was still with her because of the kids. I could share everything here, but then this update would be a novel long. She sat there while I read everything and answered my questions when I asked for additional context. When I was done I asked her again if she had slept with him, and if she had she needed to tell me now. She promised on our children's lives that she hadn't done anything more than kiss. I asked her if she had done anything else inappropriate and she admitted that there had been a time on the work trip where they had gone out, got drunk, and she sat on his lap and he told her he wanted to smash her. She said they were both drunk so she let it go and he said he didn't remember saying it the next morning. I asked if she had been tempted and she said she had but knew she wouldn't be able to hide it from if she did it, and that she loved me and knew she would lose our family if she slept with him. I thought knowing more would make it easier to make a decision, but I got that sick feeling again and was so hurt and confused. She was sitting across from me and I tried to imagine a world where I left and it felt impossible. I love her so much, and having evidence that she felt more comfortable confiding in someone she had known for under a year over me broke my heart. She told me she had gone to therapy, her first time going, and said that I should do the same and that I needed somewhere safe to talk about my feelings. The thing is, all I want to do is beat the life out of the guy who tried to ruin my family. There's too much anger in me right now. Having proof of my wife doubting my feelings for her also hurts. I asked her if she told her family and she said she had spoken to her sister about it. They got into a fight and her sister told her mom, and thankfully her family isn't defending her actions. Since my wife and I's talk, my mother-in-law came to see me and apologized for her daughter's actions while also telling me to give her another chance. She had gone through what I was going through, except her husband actually slept with multiple women and then ditched his whole family. Annie has a few more days left of her annual leave and had decided to hand in her notice when she goes back. I can't say I'm pleased about that since she is losing something important to her, but a huge part of me is relieved. The only way we're ever going to get past this is by complete separation. I'm still sleeping in the guest bedroom, still struggling with being physical with her. It feels too soon right now, but if she reaches for me or kisses my cheek, I don't deny it anymore. Right now I feel bottled up. I'm quick to snap at the people around me. My wife is taking the brunt of it, but it's the same at work as well. I've noticed my drinking has increased as well after Annie made her a comment on it, and I said something along the lines of "can you blame?" and she left the room in tears. My brother said it would hurt less with time and that we needed to actively work on building a new relationship. The thing is, there's so much separation between my wife and I that bridging the gap feels impossible. I can see that she is still trying. She's almost too agreeable with me to the point where it pisses me off. I almost want us to scream at each other so we can move on from this weird polite relationship we've got right now. I honestly don't know what the fudge to do. Commenter. She's still lying. The work trip happened months ago prior to the kiss that made her realize she's having an emotional affair. The work trip where she sat on his lap and told her he wanted to smash her. This is more than emotional, and yet this didn't make her confess. Even after this, she still went out with him, played tennis every Saturday and go to pub every Friday after work. Time she should have spent with you and her kids. I think someone saw them kissing and she's ashamed and scared that this will reach you. That's why she confessed. It's more than a kiss. Update 2. It's been almost 2 months since my last update, and I wanted to give one final update to everyone who has helped me deal with this situation. I've received a ton of good advice and well wishes, and I can't thank everyone enough for the support I received in what was the loneliest time of my life. My last update ended with my wife quitting her job, her starting individual therapy, and us still being sleeping in separate rooms. Since then we have started couples therapy. Our therapist specifically deals with emotional and physical infidelity, and go 3 times a week. While I know that may seem excessive to some people, we really need it. Some weeks we don't need the 3rd session and our therapist suggested we cancel and instead go on a date, something simple where we could just get used to being around each other again. I also started individual therapy at our couples therapist's suggestion to help me with my anger and drinking. I'm not an alcoholic, but I was starting to develop a drinking problem and using it to numb myself to any pain. It's a lot of work, but it's helping. My wife and I also spoke with my eldest daughter's school as she picked up the tension in our house and it was causing behavioral issues at school and at home, and they are offering support to her as well. It feels like we've had to break our family down to rebuild it again. I'm just glad my youngest is oblivious to anything going on. After leaving her job, my wife asked me if I would be okay if she didn't work for a couple months, as she wanted to focus on fixing our marriage and family before she committed to something else. I get paid more than enough to cover our expenses, so I agreed to it. I've never really had an opinion on her working. I would have supported her regardless of if she worked or not, but seeing the way my daughters have loved having their mother home with them more and how attentive of a mother my wife has cracked me open. I just couldn't numb myself to her anymore. Instead of listening to them having fun or my daughters laughing while being holed up in my office, I wanted to be with them. I had so much anger and pride in me that I was choosing to sulk alone and drink rather than spending time with my family that I wanted back so badly. The first time I joined them it was awkward and weird, but my therapist told me I needed to sit in that discomfort and face it rather than hiding away. My brothers and parents have been a great support during this time as well. My dad and older brothers were quicker to forgive Annie than my mom was. She adored Annie and was disappointed by what she had done, but Annie has said she's going to work hard to earn everybody's trust again. Annie's mother still isn't talking to her, however she still sees her granddaughters. She comes over only when Annie isn't home, or I drop my daughters off at her house sometimes so they can spend the day with her. We've gotten closer and it's weird getting invited to events from Annie's side of the family when she isn't included, but I have to go for my daughters. After multiple sessions with our couples therapist where I openly discussed how much grief her betrayal had caused me, Annie decided to tell her coworker's wife about the affair. She said she wanted to give Mark/Matt the opportunity to tell his wife himself and contacted him to say she would be letting his wife know and he should tell her before it came from somebody else. She heard from her old coworkers she was still friendly with that Mark/Matt had told his wife. Annie thought Mark/Matt's wife would have contacted her to corroborate any stories, but last we heard they were separating since Annie's sister realized Mark/Matt's wife had changed her relationship status on Facebook. As for Annie and I, we've had to have a lot of brutally honest conversations. Of course she was not right for what she did, but I also had to own up to my mistakes as well. There was so much resentment in her towards me that even she didn't realize at first, specifically around the birth of our eldest daughter. She had felt isolated and abandoned during that pregnancy and postpartum because I was working too much and studying at the same time. She was the primary parent for the first year of our daughter's life. I thought I was doing the right thing back then and had kind of disregarded her when she said she felt overwhelmed or lonely because I felt the same way. The difference was she had a whole baby to take care of as well. She said she felt the same way after our little one was born but could handle it better since she had been through it before and didn't expect anything from me. I had to travel quite a bit for my job back then, and looking back I had never really asked her if she was okay with that. It was humbling sitting there and listening to her recount the ways she had struggled while taking care of our daughters and never threw at my face. I realized that I needed her forgiveness as much as she needed mine. It's going to take time for us to rebuild this new relationship, but we both know the work is worth it. We're going on dates again and actually talking to each other about something other than the kids. We're still sleeping in separate bedrooms. When it comes to physical intimacy, I learned I had a lot of issues with it when it came to my self-esteem. After imagining my wife with another man, I needed her to show me how much she desired me for me to feel comfortable with her again, and she's been going above and beyond with that. Apart from that, I can't think of anything else to give an update on. Feel free to ask any questions, I'm already an open book, but the biggest lesson I've learned from this whole situation is that complacency and miscommunication are the death of relationships. Never let your significant other feel like they aren't a priority or their needs are falling on deaf ears. It's too easy to blame one person for the demise of a relationship, and in some cases that might be true, but if you know a person and they do something completely out of character, try to examine why. You don't have to forgive them or anything like that. Sometimes it is best to walk away. Again, that's for all the support. Also, I didn't reread this, so apologies for any spelling/grammar mistakes. Commenter 1. It's insane you had to take part of the blame for her infidelity. Also crazy to think that an affair that lasted that long only resulted in a single kiss. Commenter 2. So let me get this straight, your wife cheats now, doesn't have to work, you're trusting her word that she told the affair partner's partner? You're trusting her word that her sister found out? Yeah man, come on. And somehow is blaming you even partially is hilarious. This is just kind of sad to read.